I personally have. That's the microphone, of course, there's no battery. Yeah, so I have a personal debt of gratitude to Rav Katzman because every day I hear the Geschmacke Hayoim Yoim in Yiddish. Besides the Geschmacke Teuchen, the Geschmacke Loshen, the Geschmacke Yiddish is Mamesh Amechaya Yeder Tog every morning. And thank you so much for what you do in Hafotzas HaMayones. And thank you so much for being with us. And we'd like, before we start, we'd like just to...
You should leave now. You make me a hesped and I'm not some It's getting complicated.
Okay. Good as Baruch Hashem. I just want to please Hesel Chaim for Yid. His name is Asaf Ben Suzan. It's a person who the doctors didn't give him much, and today, after of course he gave his name, and we davened by the Ohel a couple months ago, and today we spoke to him, and he said that the doctor he met a doctor in Tel Aviv, a big doctor about Yene Machle. Doctor said, listen, whatever Machle you have now is usually creating gurim. I don't know how to say gurim. You say Chaz v'Shalom, whatever, it's mispashat everywhere. But for some reason, your machle is not making any gurim, and Baruch Hashem is getting better. So the Kiloshan HaDoctor, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, continue doing. It's helping. So we know what he's doing. He's getting the brachas of the Rebbe. So please, let's l'chaim for the Refuah Shlema of Asaf Ben Suzan. B'tor Shachar Yisrael, Chaim l'chaim. Today also the Yortzeit Sarah but Binyamin was her Yortzeit. She passed away of Shimon Ches, my wife's grandmother. Badal Chaim to you. Chaim. As you feel.
Chaim. It's a long day after long 30 years. So you always Pesach b'bracha. So first, the Eibishter always sends us little nisim, and one of the reasons the Eibishter sends us nisim, so just to reinforce our emunah. The whole theme of Gimel Tamuz, according to the Rebbe, is that it's a day that seems and looks one way, but really it turns out to be another way. It doesn't look so good, and in the end, it turns out good. This is Shemesh B'Givin Day, and the Gimel Tamuz of the Friedrich Rebbe, the Gilua. So just to highlight this point, I want to start off in Ferish with Chaim. You see by this table, I'm not the only mechutin to this. Special Mazel Tov to Rabbi Nissi Deitch. It's a huge simcha today. He had a baby after a lot of tefillas and after a lot of years. So Chaim, just for that little nisim, big simcha, Chaim. Very special. I'm speaking English, right?
Yeah, English.
Very, very special. So, Pesach b'bracha b'simcha. Otherwise, it's a drag. I don't know if it's the right thing to do by Fabrenyan to talk in that language, but there's just so much I can handle. The Sikha, Ayud Bistamuz Dike Sikha from the Rebbe. I'm sure many, most, or maybe all, know the Sikha, where the Rebbe is highlighting a conflict that exists on Yud Beis Tammuz. Yud Beis Tammuz is a tremendous simcha, Chag HaGeula of the Friedrich Rebbe. And Friedrich Rebbe said this is a simcha which is for everyone. It reaches every Jew. Kol Asher B'Shem Yisrael B'Chuna. Anybody just calls himself Jew, for him alone it was a big Yom Tov. The Rebbe questions, how could you say that when the Gemara says that mi shaloi nivne b'samigdash b'yomov, somebody didn't have the schus of seeing the Beis Hamikdash rebuilt in his times, he has to consider as if the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed in his times. And the Rebbe asks a question, which means that at every moment, every given moment, there is a Churban Beis Hamikdash. And the Rebbe dramatized it by highlighting the point. A Jew with a label Evan has a heart of stone, watches and he sees the Beis Hamikdash being burned. It's how could you sit by? How could you sit idly by? He used the Lashon Kerav El Dain. But the other point that the Rebbe is dealing with is the conflict. It's a conflict. You're telling a person, this moment is a big Yom Tov, and this moment you should witness the Beis Hamikdash being destroyed. How could a person handle it? And the Rebbe gives a one-line answer. Aid ist zugewähnt, als mit Mund von ihm nimna hanimnoes. A Jew is accustomed to the fact that what is demanded from him is the impossible of the impossible. You are asked to have the two opposites feelings at the same time. A lot of what we're dealing with, Gimel Tamuz, is Hakdoma to Yud Beis Tamuz. Yud Beis Tamuz was Nizgala, the Nes of Gimel Tamuz. The Rebbe spoke about Gimel Tamuz as being also, there's the difference of how the Rebbe celebrated his Geula and how Chassidim celebrate his Geula. To the Rebbe, it's more important the Yom Tov of Yud Beis Tamuz, because then he was released from prison, so he could continue doing his work. Gimel Tamuz, his life was spared, but he still could not. He was exiled. He couldn't go on with his work. But for Chassidim, it's more important to know that the Rebbe's life was spared on Gimel Tamuz. The original sentence of the government was not about life, not to continue life, chas v'sholem. And they changed that to exile. For Chassidim, this was important. The Rebbe actually discussed it several times. They say by Chassidim, there's the story in Neville. They had the big struggle or debate when they heard the news that the Friedrich Rebbe was out of prison, but he was sent into exile. They didn't know how to deal with it. Is it a time for rejoicing? Is it not a time for rejoicing because the Rebbe is being exiled? They worked it through. In the end, they claim, Neville claims the mantle of recognizing Gimel Tamuz as a Yom Tov before anybody else. So they had a vision, they had an insight, they had an understanding of something that was not so obvious. But for Chassidim, Gimel Tamuz is the presence, that's for sure. Later on, it definitely became clear that Gimel Tamuz, the Rebbe's life was spared. We have the Rebbe. So that makes it personal. Gimel Tamuz is a personal day about the Rebbe. And here you have to deal with a situation. We're calling it 30 years of something. Something happened 30 years ago. There's something that we're all excited about. I don't mean excited as in happy, but I mean excited as in we're worked up about it. It's a serious day. And it's a Neinu Liris Malkeinu. We need the Rebbe. We miss the presence of the Rebbe in front of our eyes. For those who came to Zam 70 every day on a daily basis, for those who couldn't make it there during the week, who came for Shabbos, every Shabbos by Fabrengen, and so on, and thousands and hundreds of thousands of Jews who came and saw the Rebbe, especially in the later years, for dollars. I mean, you're talking, it's huge. 30 years. Chagvald. On the other hand, 30 years. The sichas that the Rebbe spoke in connection with the Sforim, the Rebbe made such statements about the Friedrich Rebbe. And those were words that were hard to comprehend and understand the meaning of it. Maybe in a spiritual sense. On the Rebbe's level, when the Rebbe spoke and he poured out his heart, talking about 35 years after Yud Shvat, after the Istalkus of the Friedrich Rebbe. How could somebody dare say there was a Levaya 35 years ago? And the Rebbe is just 35 years further away. The Rebbe says, somebody who says things like that, we have no common language. There's nobody to talk to. The Rebbe used very edel language. You can understand. I mean, if I would say it, or even other Chassidim, they would use a lot stronger language. The Rebbe says we have no common language. And what was the conclusion of the Rebbe, which is mind-blowing? The Rebbe says 35 years, the Rebbe is becoming healthier, stronger, more alive. And therefore, what does that mean? More iskashres. Therefore, it means, we should learn more sichas, we should be mekayim the Rebbe's heroes more. No, the Rebbe says, that's why there is no Yerusha. You cannot claim a Yerusha of somebody who's alive and well. No Rov, the Rebbe says, no Rov could say it, no judge could say it, no lawyer could say it. Why did the Rebbe say these things? These were words, I mean, it's fort. It's a very strong words. And for us Chassidim, the Rebbe was right there sitting in front of us. The Rebbe is the one who was saying this. We have the Rebbe's presence. There's a Rebbe. There's a Noshe Shvi. No, the Rebbe wanted to instill in us the understanding. But that was still, it's still a sikha. It's still in the books. It's still, 3 o'clock in the morning, we can sit and fabring about it. Standing by the oil today, many waited for hours, and you saw, I happened to be there also the past Shabbos. You look around. Look what 30 years has. The Rebbe has 30 years more, younger, stronger, and bigger Chassidim and bigger Mekushorim. It is incredible. You don't need to talk. You don't need to philosophize. You don't need to give biurim. Just go, take a look. Look at the Tzira Tzei. Look at the kids. A whole generation by now, 30 years, you can almost call 2 generations of children born after Yom Tamuz. Mekusher to the Rebbe like never ever. This kashrus is incredible. And not is kashrus in theory, but is kashrus in Purim Mamish. Take a look, shluchim, shlichas. Everything is just growing. The learning the Rebbe Sichas right now, as we're sitting here, there's a chidon for the Rebbe Sichas and Inyoni Gulu Moshiach. Something extraordinary. The Bochrim, I'm not there present, but in my mind, I know I can hear the Bochrim rattling off the Sichas one by one. They know every word. We have some Mechanchim here who can testify on who their Bochrim are. They can testify on who the kids are. It's doch nicht normal. And you got to deal with both. With both emotions, both conflicting emotions at the same time. on the one hand, you know, you just want to just drink so much and just sleep through the day. Who wants to experience this day? It's so emotionally charged. It's so difficult. It's so hard. And I'm saying it, at least from my perspective, as somebody who was born here, somebody who grew up here, my whole life centered around the Rebbe, from a little child till I was a full adult, a family man. At Gimel Tamuz, it's whoa, it just destroyed my life. I got to deal with this, and there's nothing I can do about it. And let's not, you know, this is like the cliches. You know, what did everybody say 30 years ago?
It's over.
It's all over. Ois. That cheshbon, the other cheshbon, the third cheshbon, everybody, the experts, the big experts on Chassidus. No? It could be a little nasty. Let them eat crow. My friends, you're all wrong. You're all wrong. Why? Because the Rebbe said that it's different. And it turned out not one word that the Rebbe said wasn't fulfilled. It's a mitzvah. So how do you deal with this? I don't know. You gotta say l'chaim. And say so much l'chaim. Right? You don't know. Maybe like Purim, Madle Yoda. In order Homo Meborach Mordechai, you don't know which emotion is stronger and which emotion is more important. Lepeil is definitely a day from Fabringen. I will say one thing. Tonight is Dalet Tamuz. Dalet Tamuz is the Yortzeit of Reb Mendel Futterfass. So I had my personal experience with Reb Mendel on that bitter year. Dalet Tamuz Tovshin Nun Dalet. It was a day after, and we were stunned. We were speechless. We were, it was, you know, it's one of those times. Nobody knows what to say. Nobody has what to say. Nobody feels like saying anything. And was. So I remember it was on Dalet Tamuz that Reb Mendel, with his last keiches, he flew in. And I live on Montgomery Street. On my block was Rabbi Futterfass, he's Melamed in Old Teda. Shlomo Futterfass lived on my block. And I see from down the block, I see Shlomo is walking and Reb Mendel is leaning on him heavily. And calm, he's walking a step by step. So I figured by the time he'll make 3 steps, I'll be able to run the block. And I ran down the block to Reb Mendel. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe he has something to say. Maybe we'll cry together. Maybe, and maybe nothing. I ran to Reb Mendel, and those who knew Reb Mendel was very accessible, very approachable, very pleasant, and very open with everybody. By him, there was no such thing as young and old. We, the young guys, we knew him well, he knew us well, and he related to us. So I felt comfortable enough. Yeah, I can just crash him, as they say. I came over, I stop off, and I look at him. I have nothing to say. You were in no mood to say good morning or good afternoon or how are you? I mean, all these things played no role at that time. And I stopped, and we started staring at each other. He looks at me, I look at him. Silence. After a good few minutes of silence, suddenly Reb Mendel burst out and he said, mit noch haben wir was zu verbringen. There will be reason for what to verbringen. That's all he said. So l'chaim, I guess, mit der verbringen. L'chaim.
Bitte.